There is something happening inside your body right now that most people over 60 never see coming. Not because it is hidden, but because it feels completely normal. The warning signs that do the most damage after 60 are almost never the dramatic ones. They are not sudden. They are not painful. They are quiet, ordinary sensations you have probably already learned to live with. A little breathlessness here, some swelling there. Fatigue you chalk up to a busy week. And because nothing feels urgent, nothing gets reported. That silence is where the real damage begins. I have been watching this pattern repeat itself for over 2 decades. And the warning sign sitting at number 1 on today's list is not a physical symptom at all. It has nothing to do with pain, swelling, or tiredness. It is something you do mentally every single day without even realizing it is a choice. In all my years of practice, it is the single thing that has quietly delayed more diagnoses than any lab result, any missed appointment, or any physical symptom on this list. Your doctor has almost certainly never brought it up. We are going to change that today. My name is Dr. Mark Harrison. I have spent more than 20 years in internal medicine and geriatric care. My work is not about telling you what to eat. It is about helping you understand what is quietly changing inside your body as you get older, and the simple, practical steps that can help you stay active, strong, and independent for as long as possible. Before we get into the list, drop your age in the comments below and tell me, which part of your body have you been quietly worrying about most? I read every single comment. We are counting down from number 7 to number 1, from important to absolutely life-changing. Let's get into it. Number 7. Shortness of breath on stairs you used to climb without thinking. Most people over 60 who notice this do the same thing. They slow down, catch their breath, and tell themselves they just need to get back in shape. And that explanation feels reasonable. It feels responsible, even. But here is what most people do not know. After 60, your heart and lungs begin to lose what doctors call reserve capacity. Think of it like a phone battery that no longer charges to 100%. On a normal day, you never notice. But the moment you ask it to do more, climb a flight of stairs, carry groceries, walk uphill, the gap shows up fast. Research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology has found that a decline in cardiovascular fitness is one of the strongest predictors of early death in adults over 60, outperforming many traditional risk factors, including cholesterol levels and blood pressure, in long-term outcome studies. And the earliest sign of that decline is often just this: activities that used to feel easy suddenly feeling hard. I had a patient named Gerald, 68, from Phoenix, Arizona. He had been avoiding the stairs at his office building for almost a year, always taking the elevator and telling himself he needed to exercise more. When we finally ran a full cardiac workup, we found significant early-stage heart disease. He told me afterward, "I honestly thought I was just lazy." He was not lazy. He was being warned. The fix is simple. Next time you feel more breathless than expected during a familiar activity, write it down. Know what you were doing and how long it took to pass. That information is exactly what your doctor needs. Coming up next, something most people wave away as a minor inconvenience at the end of a long day. But after 60, it can be one of your body's earliest distress signals. Number 6. Swollen ankles that you blame on standing too long. This one is so common that most older adults never even mention it to their doctor. It feels like a comfort problem, not a health problem. But after 60, fluid building up around the ankles can mean the veins responsible for returning blood toward the heart and the lymphatic vessels that drain surrounding tissue are beginning to struggle. And in some cases, it points to the heart or kidneys working under more strain than they should be. Research in cardiovascular medicine has consistently shown that swelling in both ankles at the same time is significantly associated with cardiac stress, while swelling in only one ankle is more likely to point to a circulation problem or clot in that leg. Neither should be ignored, and the distinction between the two is exactly the kind of detail your doctor needs to hear. I treated a woman named Beverly, 71, from Charlotte, North Carolina. She had been wearing looser shoes for nearly 2 years to accommodate the swelling, assuming it was just something that came with age. When we investigated, we found early signs of heart failure in its most manageable stage. She caught it in time because she finally mentioned it. She told me, "I almost didn't bring it up because I thought you'd tell me to put my feet up more." If your ankles are regularly swollen by the end of the day, tell your doctor. Describe which ankle, when it started, and whether both are affected or just one. Those details matter more than you think. And speaking of things that happen at night, number 5 is something almost every person over 60 has already accepted as completely normal. But it is doing quiet damage to one of the most important systems in your body. Number 5. Waking up 2 or 3 times a night to use the bathroom. Nearly every older adult I have spoken to accepts this without question. They assume it is just part of getting older. And while the body does change with age, frequent nighttime urination, what doctors call nocturia, is not always simply a plumbing issue. After 60, it can reflect the kidneys losing their ability to concentrate urine efficiently, early changes in heart function, or a disruption in the hormone that signals the body to hold fluid during sleep. But here is the part that surprises most people. Every time you wake up at night, you are interrupting a sleep stage. And during deep sleep, your brain runs what scientists call the glymphatic system, essentially a cleaning crew that flushes out waste products linked to memory loss and cognitive decline. Long-term research tracking adults over 65 has found that regular nighttime waking is associated with measurably higher rates of cognitive decline over time, a connection researchers believe is driven, at least in part, by the cumulative disruption of this nightly cleaning cycle. I worked with a man named Clifton, 74, from Denver, Colorado. He had been waking 3 times a night for 4 years and had never once mentioned it to his doctor because, in his words, everyone my age does it. When we looked deeper, we found an early cardiac issue affecting fluid regulation during sleep. Once addressed, his nighttime waking reduced to once. He said, "I did not realize how exhausted I had been until I finally slept through." If you are waking more than once most nights, tell your doctor. It is not something to simply manage around. It is something worth understanding. Coming up next, a warning sign that millions of adults over 60 are not just ignoring, but actively explaining away as something harmless. And the longer it goes unreported, the smaller the window becomes to do something about it. If you have made it this far, that tells me something about you. Most people scroll past this kind of information. You stayed. And that means you are taking your health seriously, which is exactly the kind of person this channel exists for. Do me a quick favor right now. Type the number 5 in the comments below. It takes 2 seconds, it lets us know you are here, and it helps this video reach someone else who needs it just as much as you do. The next 3 warning signs are the ones I want you to pay the closest attention to. Because unlike breathlessness, swollen ankles, or broken sleep, the ones coming up are the signals that almost nobody connects to a warning sign at all. They feel too ordinary, too familiar, too easy to explain away with a reason that makes complete sense in the moment. That is exactly what allows them to slip through for months, sometimes years, before anyone says anything. Stay with me. Number 4. Brushing off forgetfulness as a normal part of getting older. Most people over 60 have a name for this. They call it a senior moment. You reach for a word, and it is not there. You lose your train of thought mid-sentence. You walk into a room and cannot remember why. And because it happens to almost everyone around you, it feels like something you simply have to accept. But here is what that thinking is quietly costing people. After 60, some slowing of mental processing is normal. But word-finding difficulty, regularly losing your thread mid-thought, and that frustrating feeling of a word sitting just out of reach, these can sometimes reflect early changes in how brain cells are communicating with each other. And the critical thing about those changes is this: the earlier they are caught, the more options exist. The window does not stay open forever. Research into cognitive health, including data consistently published by the Alzheimer's Association, has found that the gap between when a person first notices memory changes and when they first raise it with a doctor often stretches well beyond 12 months. 12 months of a window quietly getting smaller. I treated a woman named Rosalind, 76, from Memphis, Tennessee. She had been noticing word-finding problems and mid-conversation blanks for 18 months before she mentioned it to anyone. She had convinced herself it was stress from caring for her husband. When we finally ran a full cognitive assessment, we caught early-stage decline at a point where intervention was still highly effective. She looked at me in that appointment and said, "I kept telling myself it was nothing because I was afraid of what it might be." That fear is understandable, but silence made the risk bigger, not smaller. If you are noticing changes in your memory or thinking, write them down and bring that list to your next appointment. That is all. Just say it out loud. Number 3. Eating less and quietly feeling good about it. This one catches people completely off guard because it does not feel like a warning sign. It feels like progress. After years of being told to watch what they eat, many adults over 60 find that their appetite has reduced, and they welcome it. Fewer cravings, smaller portions, less interest in food overall. It can feel like the body finally cooperating. But after 60, a shrinking appetite is one of the most important signals your body can send, and one of the most consistently ignored. When the desire to eat fades without a clear reason, the body may be dealing with something that deserves attention. Unintended weight loss in older adults has been closely linked to muscle breakdown, a weakening immune system, anemia, thyroid dysfunction, and in some cases, early signs of conditions that are far easier to treat when caught early. Research published in the American Family Physician Journal has found that unintentional weight loss in adults over 65 is associated with serious underlying illness in up to 1/3 of cases. The body is not being disciplined. It is asking for help. I worked with a man named Clarence, 79, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Over 4 months, he had lost 18 pounds without changing anything about his routine. He felt lighter, more comfortable, and told his family he was finally getting healthy. It was his daughter who insisted he come in. When we investigated, we found a treatable condition that had been progressing quietly for months. He was fortunate that she pushed. He told me afterward, "I would never have come in on my own. I thought losing weight at my age was the one good thing happening." If you have lost weight recently without trying, even if it feels welcome, please tell your doctor. Mention how much and over how long. That information matters enormously. If this channel has ever given you something your doctor did not have time to tell you, take a second right now and hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it helps us reach more people who need this information. The next 2 warning signs are the ones that hit closest to home. And number 1, I promise you, is not what you were expecting. Number 2, accepting tiredness as simply the price of getting older. Of all the warning signs on this list, this is the one I hear dismissed most often by patients, by family members, and honestly, sometimes even by doctors. Fatigue after 60 has become so expected, so woven into the way we talk about aging, that most people never think to question it. They just adjust. They go to bed earlier. They cut back on plans. They stop doing things they used to enjoy and tell themselves this is just what getting older feels like. But there is a very important difference between feeling tired at the end of a full day and waking up tired after a full night of sleep. The second kind, the fatigue that rest does not fix, the heaviness that is simply there when you open your eyes in the morning, is one of the widest distress signals the body can send. After 60, that kind of persistent, unexplained tiredness can point to an underactive thyroid, early heart strain, low iron, changes in blood cell production, or in some cases, conditions that respond very well to treatment when found early. The problem is that the window to catch and address many of these conditions begins to narrow after 60 in a way it simply did not at 50. Research in geriatric medicine has consistently found that fatigue is among the most underreported symptoms in adults over 60, with a large proportion of patients attributing it to aging rather than recognizing it as a signal worth pursuing with their doctor. I treated a woman named Diane, 67, from Portland, Oregon. She had been exhausted for nearly 2 years. Not occasionally tired, consistently, deeply fatigued from morning to night. She had seen 2 different doctors in that time, and both had told her it was likely her age and suggested she pace herself better. A third doctor ordered a full blood panel. Within 3 weeks, she had a diagnosis, a treatment plan, and within 2 months, she described feeling like herself again for the first time in years. She told me, 2 years. I lost 2 years because I believed them when they said it was normal. If you are tired in a way that sleep is not solving, say so clearly at your next appointment. Use those exact words. I am tired in a way that sleep is not fixing. That phrase alone changes the conversation. One more. And this one I almost did not include, because it has nothing to do with a physical symptom at all. But in more than 20 years of practice, it is the warning sign that has quietly done more damage than every single one we have already covered. Stay with me. Number 1, noticing something feels off and deciding, quietly, to say nothing about it. I told you this one was not a physical symptom, and I meant it. This is not about pain levels or test results. This is about a habit of thinking that is so deeply embedded in the way many older adults move through the world that most people never even recognize it as a choice. It sounds like this. I don't want to make a fuss. It will probably pass. I don't want to worry my children. It's most likely nothing. I'll wait and see how I feel next week. That voice, calm, reasonable, well-intentioned, is the single most dangerous health pattern I have encountered in more than 20 years of working with adults over 60. Not because the people who listen to it are careless, but because they are often the most considerate, the most patient, the least likely to burden anyone around them. And that quality, as admirable as it is in every other area of life, becomes a liability when the body is trying to communicate something important. Here is what that silence does, beyond the obvious delay. When you suppress a worry without addressing it, your nervous system carries it anyway. Chronic low-level stress elevates cortisol, which over time strains the cardiovascular system, disrupts the endocrine system, and has been shown in multiple studies to accelerate cognitive decline. And beyond the biology, every week that a real symptom goes unreported is a week the treatment window gets a little narrower. This pattern of self-dismissal touches every system in the body, not because of what the symptom is, but because of what the silence allows to continue unchecked. I want to tell you about a woman named Patricia, 73, from Columbus, Ohio. For 6 weeks, she had been noticing a dull pressure in her jaw after meals. Not pain exactly, just a heaviness that came and went. She had not told her husband. She had not mentioned it to her daughter. She told herself it was probably a dental issue and that she would bring it up at her next checkup, which was 4 months away. It was her daughter who finally brought her in, after noticing that her mother had been quietly avoiding the dinner table. What we found was a cardiac event that had been building. The jaw pressure was her heart's way of asking for help. In women over 60, jaw discomfort and upper body heaviness are among the most commonly missed early signs of cardiac stress. Clinicians call this atypical angina, symptoms that look nothing like the classic chest-clutching image most people carry in their minds, but that carry exactly as much urgency. Women in this age group are significantly more likely than men to experience these atypical presentations and significantly less likely to report them. Patricia was treated. She recovered fully. But she sat across from me after her diagnosis and said something I have never forgotten. She said, "I kept thinking I was being sensible. I didn't want to be the woman who came in over nothing. I didn't realize that saying nothing was the most dangerous thing I could do." She was not being reckless. She was doing what generations of older adults have been quietly taught to do. Take up less space. Ask for less help. Wait just a little longer. The fix is simple. Keep a small notebook on your nightstand. When something feels off, anything at all, write it down. The date, what you noticed, how long it lasted. That is all. You do not need to diagnose it. You do not need to decide if it is serious. Just write it down. If the same thing appears more than twice in 2 weeks, that notebook goes with you to your next appointment and you show it to your doctor. Your body has been communicating with you your entire life. After 60, those messages deserve to be taken seriously. Not because you should live in fear, but because you have spent decades learning to read this body, and that knowledge is worth something. Use it. 7 warning signs. 7 quiet, ordinary signals that millions of adults over 60 are explaining away every single day. Not out of carelessness, but because nobody ever told them these things were worth paying attention to. You now know that getting winded on stairs you used to climb without thinking is not simply a fitness problem. It is a signal from your heart and lungs that deserves a closer look. You now know that ankles that puff up by the end of the day are not just a comfort issue. They may be telling you something about how hard your heart and kidneys are working. You now know that waking up 2 or 3 times a night to use the bathroom is not just an inconvenience of aging. It is a pattern that can quietly interfere with your brain's ability to clean itself while you sleep. You now know that losing words mid-sentence or walking into a room and forgetting why is not something to laugh off and move past. It is worth writing down and bringing up early, while the window to act is still wide open. You now know that eating less and feeling good about it is not always a sign that your body is doing well. Sometimes it is the quietest distress signal of all. You now know that waking up tired after a full night of sleep is not the price of getting older. It is your body reaching out across a wide range of possible causes, most of which are treatable when caught in time. And you now know that the most dangerous thing you can do after 60 is notice something, decide it is probably nothing, and keep it to yourself. That voice, reasonable, considerate, well-meaning, has delayed more diagnoses than any of the 6 warning signs above it. None of these 7 things are rare. None of them are dramatic. That is precisely the point. The signals your body sends after 60 are often quiet by nature. They do not arrive with sirens. They arrive as things you have already learned to live around. Now you know what they actually mean. And knowing that changes everything. Your body is not failing you out of cruelty. It is not working against you. It is doing exactly what it has always done, communicating the only way it knows how. The problem has never been the signal. The problem is the silence that follows it. Everything we have covered today, the breathlessness, the swelling, the broken sleep, the fading memory, the shrinking appetite, the exhaustion that rest cannot fix, and the quiet habit of saying nothing, none of it is a verdict. None of it means the story is over. In almost every case I have seen across more than 2 decades of practice, the patients who did best were not the ones with the mildest symptoms. They were the ones who spoke up early enough for something to be done. That is still available to you. Right now, today. And none of this requires a dramatic overhaul of your life. You do not need a new diet, a new routine, or a complete fresh start. You need one small thing. Tonight, before you go to sleep, find a notebook, any notebook, and put it on your nightstand. If something feels off tomorrow or the day after, write it down. One line, the date, what you noticed, and how long it lasted. That is all. No diagnosis required. No decision about whether it is serious. Just write it down. That notebook is the beginning of a conversation your body has been trying to start for months. And when you bring it to your doctor, you are no longer relying on memory. You are arriving with evidence. That changes everything about the care you receive. If someone you love has been quietly brushing something off, a parent, a spouse, a close friend, send them this video. Not as a warning, as a gift. Because the information that changes someone's health outcome is often the information that reaches them through someone who cares enough to share it. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, now is a good time. Every week we publish content designed specifically for adults over 60 who want to understand what is changing inside their bodies and what they can actually do about it. And before you go, leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 7 warning signs have you or someone you love been quietly explaining away? I read every single one, and your answer might be exactly what someone else in this community needs to hear today.